Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Varus commentary again, and we haven't done Varus in a pretty long time. The last one we did was covering AP Varus, but Varus has of course been buffed for like 5 patches in a row or so. Like every part of him got buffed. He got his passive buffed. His W got buffed a couple of times, so did his E, I believe the ratios. I'm not so sure about the ulti and the Q. But anyways, we get right into the action as we walk into the lane. Nami gets caught and I have to blow the exhaust onto the Ezreal, and I have to also flash out, so it's a really bad level 1 there. Especially because we're against a Nautilus who has the hook, and because of that I have to recall to get back my health. Nami unfortunately though does not recall, and as a result does get killed by Ezreal, so we do already lose out the first blood, which is a pretty bad start to the game. We're gonna see what happens after that. So anyways, we're gonna quickly cover Varus's build and runes. So for the runes, you guys can see I have Summon Airy because I'm going to go for a full lethality build, so that will increase my poke. And for this match, I believe I have I'm not sure if I took Giant Slayer this match or not, but normally one of the better options for Varus is Giant Slayer, but in this match there's only like one really tanky character, which is Nautilus, so maybe that's not the best in this match. And I of course do have Bone Plating as well as Hunter Genius as well. So for the items, I of course go for the Mana Mune first, and then followed by the Serpent's Fang. Now in this game, there's pretty limited shielding, to be honest. It's really only on Nautilus, so you can skip out the Serpent's Fang if you want to. You can get Youmuu's Ghost Blade instead, or Dust Blade if you prefer, and then the Sorela's Grudge, and then after that you get the Edge of Night as the second last item, and top it up with the GA for the revive. Now anyways, here we build up basically 2 full waves to crash into the tower. So here we're just whacking the tower to try to get tower plating gold, because we have so many minions just smacking that tower. Here I actually let Nautilus engage on me. Ezreal comes in. I do have the exhaust ready to go onto the Ezreal, and we do get the kill onto him. I'm at really low HP, but we have my next minion wave coming in. And here I do end up dying eventually, but Nami picks up a double kill. Now here, the crucial mistake that the enemy team made is trying to fight us in the minion wave. We had 2 full waves at the tower and a 3rd wave coming in, so there's always 2 waves of minions attacking them constantly. And at the early stages of the game, like let's say in laning phase, like for the first like 7 minutes or so, maybe 5 minutes or so, you cannot fight the enemy if there are too many minions around, because you will always lose to the minion damage. The majority of the damage you take in early game is minion damage, because the minions do a lot of damage at the start, because the champions do really low damage at the start, so minion damage becomes a lot more significant. So although I died there, it was a 1 for 2 trade, although unfortunately the kills went onto the wrong person, but still it is a positive trade overall. So in terms of the bot lane on both sides, me and Nami have died once each, and Ezreal and Nautilus have died one each, so it's relatively even now after that. And here we're gonna just quickly clear out the wave, and we do get the ulti, and we do manage to get the stun onto the Ezreal as well as getting the Nautilus on the tower. And now Rengar turns out that he was actually hiding in the bush in wait, but did get hit by Nami's ultimate. He goes invisible, so I can't exactly attack him. I'm really low, and he does manage to eventually kill me, but Rammus does finish off the job. So it's a pretty messy fight at the moment. Now, something I do have to point out is normally I explain why I pick Varus in a certain scenario, and normally that's because I have a tanky front line and the enemy team doesn't have any assassins, but in this case, I really just picked Varus because I've been losing on a lot of other champions, and I just decided to go for something different. As you guys can see, I don't exactly have a tanky frontline. I only have like a Diana and a Rammus, which is not the tankiest of front lines. And on the enemy team, we have like a Yone. Before we get into that, here Rammus goes in for a gank, but he full on commits to Nautilus for some reason, whereas I'm committing onto Ezreal. Veigar comes in, and here I know I'm gonna die, so I do the best thing I can do, which is to snipe Ezreal first before I die to trade 1 for 1 and let my team escape. Hopefully, maybe not. Alright, there we go. Vex comes in and cleans up for the double. Now I have no idea why Rammus went in on Nautilus instead of Ezreal there, but we ended up going for 2 1v1s right beside each other. It's like Rammus versus Nautilus and me versus Ezreal, which made no real sense to me, because we should be focusing Ezreal, not Nautilus. But anyways, yeah, back to my point. We do have like Yone who can easily get to me on the backline, so is Rengar. And we also have the Nautilus who is a very strong engager, which also means that I will be in trouble if I get hooked by him. So really, this is not really even a good match to pick Varus, but I simply just liked, or not liked, but wanted to pick Varus, so I just did that anyways. Not always the best idea to do that, but sometimes, you know, you don't actually really need to think that much and just choose who you feel like playing, and sometimes it just works out. So we do have that. So anyways, here we try to pick up another plate, and we do get the other plate. And we're just gonna get a little bit of tower damage on, and then we can just back off a little bit and try to get the poke down. So basically in lane, for Varus, at all times you want to always aim to land poke on enemy champions, not minions but champions, because if you land poke on minions, it doesn't really do very much. Here I land more poke on Varus, forcing his flash, and because of course he was scared of getting full committed on, but honestly we were way out of range to do anything anyway, so probably he didn't need to flash there. Here Nautilus comes barreling down, actually manages to hit the hook, but does get bubbled at the same time, meaning he doesn't actually pull me, or he doesn't actually meet me to the spot that he pulled me to, which is a pretty interesting interaction that I didn't actually know about. So here you guys can see that the dragon is up, Vex tanks the hook instead of me. We are able to burst down the Veigar, and the chains go onto Nautilus, and I get the kill onto Nautilus as well. Here we're trying to chase down the Rengar. I actually flash forward for the arrow, but Vex has got it anyway, so no real need for that actually. Here Ezreal is sort of caught under the tower. So this is where I snipe the Ezreal, but he doesn't actually quite die yet. But either way, he doesn't have anywhere to run. My team is really impatient here. Ends up costing Rammus his life. If they waited for me to push in the minion wave, this is a guaranteed kill, probably with no casualties at all. But you know, team did get a little bit hasty there and did just go for the dive without the minions, which it does work, but it's not the best idea in the world, because 1-for-1 trade I think is more beneficial for Ezreal than for us. When we had 4 people there who could have killed him if, you know, we waited for the minions. So here I completed my Serpent's Fang as well. This will help against like Nautilus shielding, will help against Yone shielding on his W, will help against Ezreal's barrier as well, because Ezreal is actually running barrier in this particular match. So it's also going to help against that. So it has not insane value, but it has decent value. So here I'm going to snipe out the minions to prevent them from actually pushing the tower, and then I'm going to get the Chain of Corruptions down onto Nautilus. So here, since my whole team is focusing Veigar, I'll just finish off the Nautilus, as you guys can see here. Of course, using the passive pop of the W to burst down that Nautilus. And then we can proceed on to push down this lane, push down the wave, and perhaps get some damage onto the tower. Now, unfortunately, Yone is responding, so we cannot exactly do that, because he can charge up his Q like that and then go in. So I wouldn't have wanted to be where Nami was and get knocked up by the Yone, so unfortunately we do have to back away. And yeah, so Varus in general, you just want to stay far away and just shoot people down with your arrows, at least if you're playing the lethality version of Varus. Here the enemy team full commits on, and I actually exhaust the Yone, which actually blocks a lot of his damage. I do finish off the kill onto Yone, but I do get hit by Ezreal's ultimate, which leads to me taking quite a chunk of damage. Isn't quite too big of an issue though, because I can just simply recall, of course clearing out the way first so as to not lose any gold and XP to the tower. And now we can recall, and here I'm going for my stasis next, because as we see, there is of course the Rengar and the Yone especially, who can very easily get to me in the back line. So I do of course want to get that stasis to have that extra layer of protection just in case I need it. And here I'm just gonna pick up the blue buff, because honestly Varus is very mana hungry, and could have given Vex the blue buff. She's doing really well as well, but the Diana is not doing well one bit. So here I try to actually help out the Vex, but Vex does already die under the tower. Rengar does come in. We do get like a full combo onto Rengar. Rengar just dies instantly, and Ezreal is left under the tower once again. Rammus goes in for the dive once again taunts up the Ezreal, and we do finish off the kill onto him. And this also allows us to get the top tier 1 tower at the top lane, and also we can move on to going for the Herald. So here Control Ward plays down to prevent any enemy vision. Yone is pushing the bot lane, so Vex is gonna actually respawn. I somehow actually managed to pick up the Herald instead of the Rammus. I guess he may not have had Smite. On looking at the replay, he did have it. I guess he just chose not to use it. But anyways, we do end up having the Herald. So we can have the Herald and part recall to get back to base faster. Serrated Dirk completed. So here you guys notice that instead of going for the Serralda's Grudge straight away, I actually get another Serrated Dirk first, because this is going to increase the damage by quite a bit. And here, although I already have red buff, I chose to take the red buff from the Diana anyways, because Diana, firstly, she's 2, 4, and 2. Secondly, she's AP, so there's no reason why she needs the red buff. So might as well put it on a more useful champion, which is me, of course. And here we get the snipe onto Varus, we get the snipe onto Nautilus as well. So as you guys can see, making very good use of that red buff. And here I'm using the Herald to actually tank tower and push. Rammus goes in onto the Ezreal and also gets the kill onto him. So we got 3 huge picks, and using the Herald we burst down the mid lane tier 1. Herald's gonna even charge onto mid lane tier 2 and finish that off. And now we're even gonna be able to get the Herald charge onto tier 3. So 3 charges of the Herald is pretty much the maximum number of charges you can get. So it's huge value for the Herald there. And now we're gonna move on to the Dragon. Rengar for some reason is there alone and just basically just dies. Yeah, so basically means we get a free Dragon. Nautilus comes in and the rest of the team comes in trying to save the play, but Nautilus just goes down and Yone goes down as well. And unfortunately, no, Rammus does die. Now, Nami is the only person left on the Dragon. Here, I thought that we had more people on the Dragon, but we didn't. So here, I actually turned back to help Nami finish off the Dragon. And we do secure that Dragon. And Veigar does escape with his life. But, you know, 2 Dragons for our team is great. And here, I'm just going to clear out the bottom lane. And then we can, of course, recall and probably complete the Serralda's Grudge from all of those kills. Maybe, hopefully. There we go, we do have enough for the Serralda's Grudge, and even enough for another longsword. So here our build is slowly coming together. We're now 11, 3, and 13. So after a pretty rough early game, we've actually done really well. We're at 12k gold now. Vex is at 11k, so our team is doing really well. The enemy team has the most gold on Rengar at only 9k, so we have a really decent lead on the enemy team at this point. Nami goes in with the wave, Yone uses his E, which unfortunately means he's going to port back to the same position. He does nearly actually kill me in the meantime though, so that's really close one for me. I did have my stasis, but I didn't use it because I didn't think I would die, and I didn't think he'd do that much damage. He didn't do enough damage for me to die, but that was really close, so probably should just stasis right there. Thankfully though, we are not punished for not popping the stasis, and we are still alive and we can still continue to output damage onto people. So here the enemy blue buff is up, so here I'm just going to quickly take the enemy blue buff. Again, Varus with double buffs is going to be really helpful, because of course red buff because as a normal ADC, and blue buff for the mana. Now if you had to choose between one buff or the other, I think blue buff is more important. Because red buff you can only apply every arrow, but blue buff is really important for your mana sustain. So here the enemy team and my team are fighting in the top lane, but I'm actually in the bot lane clearing waves, so hopefully this fight doesn't go too bad, because you know a lot of times one fight where you are not around is the fight that loses your team the game. But anyways, I had to de-push that wave, and this actually sets up a slow push in bot lane as well, which will help us, of course, with Baron pressure, and just in general, if no one clears out that wave, it's going to start stacking. Rengar actually goes to clear it right away, though. So here, I'm just starting out the red buff because I see Rammus coming. My red buff is actually running out already, so here, as you guys can see here, that my red buff actually ran out. So here, I'm just waiting for the next red buff. And just going to quickly collect the red buff. Of course, remembering to let your jungler take the buff, because buff sharing does exist now. Here, just quickly taking the raptors. Of course, if there's any free time and free resources up and available to farm, you do want to, of course, go for that. So we do quickly pick up the raptors. And here we have no idea where the enemy team really is, so we do want to be cautious because they could be like right behind us and like you know, come and flank us like, as a 5-man unit or something like that, because we can't actually see anybody. Now we actually spot like Yone and Nautilus somewhere over there. Yone makes the mistake of face checking, and he even uses his ease, which means he's gonna pop back, and I instantly root him. He's stuck and he is gone. We get pretty much a free pick. And here I actually panicked stasis because I actually thought Veigar was going to do a full combo, but Veigar was actually just zoning us away, so didn't actually really need to stasis there. I was really afraid of just getting one shot by Veigar, but in hindsight, Veigar is like 2, 5, and 4 with 2 items. I think he probably could have one shot me if he really tried and focused everything on me, but that clearly was not the case there. So here anyways, with that pick, we're actually moving on to going to get Baron. And if the enemy team comes with, which they do here I can actually root the Rengar and actually try to burst him down. Rengar W is really OP though, so he does actually manage to heal up a lot of that damage. Here I flash out of Veigar's cage, and here I'm just trying to get damage onto enemy team. This was actually pretty dangerous, considering that the enemy team was all still around to steal the Baron. But thankfully though, we do actually manage to kill everyone on the enemy team. And do get the Baron as well. Yone of course just respawned, so he's the only one left to defend for their team. And here I'm trying to go for at least getting an inhibitor. Of course ending the game is a pretty tall order here considering death timers, but here we can of course get the mid lane inhibitor. Also now with that pressure, we can actually also continue to push down the bot lane. Vex actually does pick up the kill onto the Yone, but of course, as we mentioned, that there is a lot of enemy respawns coming through, so as a result we can't exactly just end the game right there. So here we are going to actually pick up this tier 2 tower for even more gold for our team, and the next dragon has actually spawned. So we are probably going to rotate over to that dragon and just secure the dragon to just secure the triple dragon, and pretty much make it such that the enemy team have no chance for a comeback. Really hard to come back against triple dragon. And here we are going to be able to secure the 3 dragons. So here everyone has a lot of gold from the kills, and also here I'm all going to just reset and get items. Here I'm pretty much almost at full build. Only GA needs to be completed, and I'm pretty close to that, like less than 2,000 gold away. So here I'm just going to go straight for red buff. Since Rammus isn't actually coming, I'm just going to go take the red buff myself. As you guys can see here, they do get a pick onto the Rengar in the meantime, and looks like they're pretty much just moving on to going to kill the rest of the enemy team. Now Ezreal can be spotted clearing out the bot lane, so we know that he's not there, so this should be a pretty big numbers advantage fight for my team. Unfortunately though, Vex does die, so that is kind of bad news. So here, because Vex died, we don't really feel very safe to just keep on pushing down, because Vex is a really fat member of our team. She is 16 and 5, I'm 13 and 3. Now here the enemy red buff is there, so I'm just gonna take that, even though I just had a red buff, because pretty much there's no one else that the red buff is really useful on other than me. So I'm just gonna take it anyways. Here Rammus goes in. I follow up with the root, and we're gonna pretty much just follow up on the rest of the team. Nautilus has stasis for some reason, and he did pop the stasis, so we do end up killing all of those members of the enemy team, and the death timers now are like 50 seconds, so that's 3 huge picks from our side. Enemy team does surrender eventually right here, and we do pick up the victory. So as usual, I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.